Ben and Jen, police arrested 32-year-old Jonathan Poventud last week. He was found in Florida, extradited back to Connecticut, where he faced a judge this morning. Poventud is charged with murder, reckless endangerment, illegal discharge of a firearm, and several other charges in connection to the killing of 47-year-old Marcus Darby of Waterbury. Police say neighbors called 911 the night of the shooting on Violet Street. When officers arrived, they found a crowd of people standing around Darby's body, who was lying on his back in a parking lot. They say he was shot once in the chest and was pronounced dead when he was transported to St. Mary's Hospital. Further investigation led police to finding the gun in a nearby trash receptacle. Surveillance cameras also helped police track down Poventud's Honda Accord, which provided clues to his whereabouts. When asked what the motive was behind the shooting, police believe it was tension between Darby and Poventud.
The responding officers and detectives were able to get a really good description of a vehicle fleeing the area. Guys did a great job locating that vehicle nearby. We were also able to recover the firearm that was used, and then Mr. Poventud then obviously sustained that gunshot wound to his leg, which required medical treatment, so that first got us into contact with him.
And Poventud is no stranger to police. He violated his probation, and he's currently being held on a $2.5 million bond. I'm live in Waterbury. Carmen Chow, Fox 61 News.